All right, let's dive right in. If you're just starting out with Python, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're going to build the single most important habit from day one, writing clean, professional code. And it all starts with one simple thing, a variable.
You're going to see this a lot. Readability counts. It's not just a nice suggestion, it's like the heart and soul of the Python language. It means it's not enough for your code to just work. It has to be easy for another human, or you 6 months from now, to actually understand.
And if you're wondering why that's such a big deal, well, the guy who created Python said it best. You might write a line of code in 30 seconds, but people are going to read that line over and over and over again. So writing for other people is really just a way to be kind to your future self. Trust me on that one.
So, how do we actually do this? How do we make sure our code is readable? Well, luckily, we don't have to guess. We follow the official style guide, known as PEP 8. Think of it as the playbook for writing beautiful, consistent Python code. It's what all the pros use.
So here's our game plan. We'll quickly touch on why readability is so important. Then we'll get into the good stuff. Variables, the rules for naming them, the kinds of data they can hold, and then we'll put the whole shebang together. Okay, let's do this.
All right, section 1. So just to really hammer this home, why does this all matter? Simple. Code that's easier to read is way easier to fix when it breaks, it's easier to add new features to, and it's absolutely essential if you ever want to work on a team. It's really the bedrock of being a professional.
Now, for the main event, how does a program actually remember things? How does it store information? The answer is variables. They are the most fundamental building block you will ever use in Python. So what is a variable? Honestly, the best way to picture it is just a labeled box. That's it. It's a box you can put some data into, and you slap a label on the front so you can find that data again later. The variable is the label, not the box itself.
Okay, so if a variable is the label on the box, what you write on that label is, well, it's everything. You can't just call your boxes A, B, and C and expect to find anything later. Thankfully, PEP 8 gives us a super clear, consistent way to name our variables.
For Python variables, the official convention is called snake underscore. And the rule could not be simpler. All the words are lowercase, and you separate them with an underscore. That's it. No capital letters, no dashes. Just lowercase words and underscores. It's clean, it's easy to read, it's the Python way. Let's look at why this is such a game changer. In the first example, you see x equals John Smith. Then, a few lines down, you see y, z equals x dot split. What on earth are y and z? You have to stop, scroll back up, and figure it out. Now look at the second one. Name equals John Smith. And then, first underscore name, last underscore name equals name dot split. Ah. It's instantly clear. The code literally explains itself. This is what we call self-documenting code. Okay, so we've got our labeled boxes, our variables, but what kind of stuff can we actually put inside them? Let's talk about the 3 most common types of data you're going to be working with all the time. First up, we have the integer. Its nickname is int. This is your go-to for any whole number. Think of a player's score in a game, the number of items in a shopping cart, or your age. If it's a solid number with no decimal point, it's an integer. And here's a perfect example in the wild. We've got a variable named player underscore score. Notice that beautiful snake case, and we've stored the integer value 100 inside it. Simple, clean, and you know exactly what it represents.
But what if you need decimals? What about things that aren't whole numbers? Well, that's where floats come in. A float, or a floating point number, is just any number that has a decimal point. This is what you'd use for prices, for scientific measurements, for anything that needs that extra bit of precision. So just like before, we're using a nice descriptive name, item price, but this time the value is 20.5. That little decimal point is the dead giveaway. It tells you, and it tells Python, that we are working with a float. And finally, we have strings. This is how Python deals with text. A string is just a bunch of characters. Could be letters, numbers, symbols, anything at all, as long as it's wrapped up in quotation marks. Those quotes are the key. And here's our string example. The variable username is holding the text ravioli. Those quotation marks are telling Python, hey, treat this as a piece of text. Don't try to do math with it or anything weird. It's just the word ravioli. Okay, we've talked about the why, we've talked about the variables, the naming rules, and the basic types of data. Now for the fun part. Let's put it all together and see what this looks like in an actual piece of code. So take a look at this little snippet. We've got an integer, num1. We've got a float, num2. And we've got two strings, food1 and food2. Can you see how it all comes together? Every single variable name follows that clean, readable snake_case convention. In a split second, you can look at this and understand exactly what's happening. This right here, this is beautiful code in action.
And just like that, you have the fundamental building blocks to write code that doesn't just work, but code that's actually a pleasure to read. Getting these habits down now will make you a much, much better programmer in the long run. So the only question is, what readable code are you going to write first?